Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Code. Drip.
Snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go.
All right, you ready? We're going to do it right now. Let's get into it, guys. So, spoiler alert, if you are playing Baldur's Gate 3, planning on playing Baldur's Gate 3, and you haven't reached Act 3, and you have not reached the culmination of Astarion's plotline, you're going to want to skip this portion of the podcast, because I am going to talk about that plot and its conclusion, and what happened yesterday when I concluded it, and my gripes with this. Because I'm pretty upset with the way it went down, not because of the consequences of my choices in the game. I'm actually okay with them. All right? My problem is that I was robbed. Okay? To give you a brief summary, because of my choices, a character left my party and gave me all the items in their inventory except the ones they had directly equipped on their person, which were all unique items you can never get back. These are items that I spent over 120 hours during my playthrough collecting to make the perfect build, and now they're lost completely, erased from existence. Okay? So I want to tell you the story of what happened. I want to tell you my opinion on it, and how I think that Larian could absolutely improve this engine if they actually really wanted to make it truly like a role-playing game rather than a, oh, we just make arbitrary decisions and you live with them game, which is really what this game is, sadly. And then we're going to go from there. But I'm sure everyone's going to have difference of opinion because people in the chat have already. They were going back and forth this morning about it. So let's do it. Let's talk, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. All right, so here's the deal. Astarion is one of your party members who you find right at the beginning of the game. He is a vampire spawn, meaning that in his past, a vampire bit him and made him basically a vampire, but he doesn't have the full powers of, like, the vampire lord. He's just one of the underlings, okay? But because in the plot, he has this illithid parasite in him, he somehow is freed from the control of his master, and he's able to walk daylight. So he's a daywalker vampire, okay? So most of the plot, he is your go-to guy when it comes to lockpicking, when it comes to being stealthy. You know, he's the rogue, he's the guy in the shadows all the time, right? So, you know, you can build him various ways. You can have him backstabbing people, you know, being invisible, or you can have him from range doing crazy ranged attacks and stuff like that. I've used him in various different ways over the playthrough, okay? Notably, near the end game here, his build is so good that he basically gets like tons of turns. Like he gets 3 to 4 turns in one turn, and he gets giant critical hit damage. He gets elemental damage. He gets all this extra stuff on top of everything we're doing. You know, that would be a basic rogue class. And that's because of the way I built him, but that's also because of his gear. Okay. And he's been a critical part of my game. He really has. 120 hours in, he 100% has always been a part of my party. Unlike everyone else who I've swapped in and out, he has literally been a staple of my party since day one because of his uniqueness. He's the lock picker, right? He's the stealth guy. Now, here's the thing about Astarion and his character. He's not a good guy. Over the course of the plot, you find out that he's kind of an underhanded dude. Number one, right at the beginning of the game, he tries to suck your blood when you're asleep at camp without your permission. The hell? Who said you could do that? At least ask. And he doesn't. He just tries to do it, and you catch him in the act. Then over the course of the playthrough, you realize he basically is the one with the worst morals. He's the one who originally wants to use the illithid parasites for using all of their power. Like, he's totally for it. He says, if you're not going to use them, give me all the parasites so that way I can become, like, all-powerful. Now, basically when you play through the game and you get to know him better, you kind of sympathize for the guy, because finding out all the crap he's been through in his life, being a vampire spawn, that he's gone through horrible, horrible things. He was very mistreated by his master, Cazador. That's the name of the vampire who turned him and controls him. I mean, over the course of the game, you got people who are hunting him because he's a vampire spawn. He runs into his former spawn mates, I guess you could call them, like brothers and sisters, in being turned into spawn, and see, you know, you'll learn about their horrible backstory and how they were mistreated and all of that. So you do sympathize with him somewhat. But I mean, out of all the dialogue choices and everything in the game, he's the evil dude. Like, you could tell if you did an evil run playthrough and did all the, like, harsh choices, he would be in love with you. Like, he would absolutely love all your choices because that's what he wants. He doesn't care about people being treated well. He just kind of laughs and snickers at everything and likes when people get hurt. He literally, every time in the game when you make a good decision, it says, Astarion disapproves. But why? It's kind of weird because obviously your first run in an RPG, a lot of people want to do kind of the goody two-shoes run, and then you'll go back and you'll do the evil run. Well, he's introduced right at the beginning of the game, along with all the other party members, and when you make the good choices, all the party members like the choices, just not him. So over the course of the game, if you make moral choices, Astarion dislikes you more and more. And there's a couple critical things you have to do during the game choices, during the plot, that make him change his character a little bit and his attitude towards you. Notably, there's this one time where he wants to learn about these runes that were carved into his back by his master. Now think about how fucked up that is. His vampire master literally, with a knife or something, carved stuff into his back, right? And he doesn't know what it is. And a demon shows up and says, I'll tell you what those runes are as long as you do a favor for me. Well, come to find out, the favor is an awful favor. He wants you to murder, basically, a creature that's a slave of his. It's another plot line. I don't want to really get into it and spoil it. But basically, again, the moral choices lead you to do things differently. Because you do moral choices, Astarion's angry with you. Oh, I didn't get to learn what the runes on my back are. Now, the funny part about that is, you just find out what they are later anyway, easily. It's not like, oh, it's a hard thing now and you lost out on an opportunity. You're just going to find out in the plot what they are anyway. So it doesn't even matter that he found out earlier or later. He finds out anyway. So there's no reason why he should be so upset with you. But he is anyway. Okay? So over a few more choices in the game, he may like or dislike you more. But basically, by the time that I got to the end of the game, he's in my party. He's adding all these dialogue options. And by the way, we're doing his companion quest line. Meaning we've gone out of our way, all right, to basically appease this guy. Even though he's upset with some of the choices we made during the game, we're going to the mansion of the vampire that controls him. We're getting his revenge. We're killing everyone in there that doesn't like him. And now we're going to get to this big boss fight against the vampire. Literally, the only reason you're there is for him. You're not looking for anything there. There's no items you need. There's no power you're going to get by killing this vampire. You're literally doing this just for him. Okay? So he should be appeased. If this were realistic and good writing, he should be like, wow, so the whole party's actually doing this out of the kindness of their own heart to help me? Awesome. Instead, he's a fucking pissy bitch about it. He's demanding the entire time. We absolutely need to not only defeat the vampire lord who controls me, but I want to flip this on its head, and I want to have this ritual make me the ultimate powerful vampire. And it's funny because when you get there, you're like, wait, what? Like, how did this become part of the deal? We never even really discussed this in the past. I don't even know, why did this become a big deal? It was supposed to be just about freeing him from the grips of his vampire lord, but the game turns it into a quest now to make him the ultimate vampire, which is kind of weird. Again, especially if you're going into this with a moral mindset. You don't want a vampire lord. There already is one. Things are bad. You don't want just another one. And the thing is, again, with Astarion, you've seen through the plot, he is corrupted by power. He's the person that wants to use the illicit parasites for his own gain, while everyone else is apprehensive about it. No, we don't want to use the power because it's too dangerous or too evil. He's okay with it, right? So it doesn't make sense if you're going for the moral role-playing story, which I am, to do what he wants, okay? So basically, you go through the whole mansion, you get to the end. It's the big boss fight against Cazador. And it's a unique boss fight, like most of these endgame boss fights. It's not bad at all. I actually was enjoying it. And we get to the very end, and we beat Cazador, and now Astarion has the critical decision. He wants to become the vampire lord. So what does that entail? Well, this ritual has to complete. It means that everyone in this ritual circle is about to die. It means that all of these vampires spawn, that supposedly they're saying there's thousands of them that are trapped in the castle, are all going to be sacrificed so that he can become the ultimate vampire. Now he's going to control the legions of vampires in Baldur's Gate. And again, as we've already seen in the plot, Astarion sadly can't be trusted with power. He's the one who wants to misuse the illicit power early on. So the track record says, no, this is bad. Even when you're going to make the decision of you want to go with this or not, Shadowheart speaks up and says, no, you don't want to do that because you're going to sacrifice all these people just for him to get more power. This doesn't make sense. It's kind of like you're getting rid of one dictator to replace it with another dictator, but because you're friends with that dictator, it's okay. No, the dictator alone is bad. It doesn't matter who it is. There shouldn't be one, right? So, when all this is going down, and even with my other party members warning me against it, don't do it, I said, that's it. I'm going to make my choice. No, I'm not going to allow him to do the ritual, okay? So, by the way, it's revealed that the writing on his back from Cazador is the ritual marks. It's just he was going to be one of the sacrifices for the ritual. And during the ritual, you rescue him. So, again, all the things you're doing for this character, right? You went to Baldur's Gate, you went to the mansion, you kicked the vampire's ass, and you saved him from being ritually sacrificed. That's not good enough. He still doesn't like you because you don't want to do exactly what he wants. You want to talk about a fucking spoiled brat? That's Astarion. He's fucking such a spoiled brat character. If he doesn't get exactly his way, he hates you. How the fuck does that make any sense? You've done this guy so many favors at this point. You saved his ass early on from vampire hunters. You saved him when his brothers and sisters came to camp and tried to kill everyone in the night. You went there, you stormed the castle, you beat the vampire lord, you free him from his control. Oh, well, I'm still pissy with you. Well, fuck you then. Like, really, what a badly written, not badly written, but I understand. They're trying to say, again, this guy is a corruptible character who basically, he's kind of incorrigible. No matter how much you like him, he's always going to be that kind of guy, and you got to deal with that, right? So, I made the choice, and I said, no, we are absolutely not going to let you become the vampire lord. And then he says, okay, and he turns and he brutally murders Cazador. All right? And then he says, just listen to this. Well, since you made your choice, you wouldn't do what I wanted, I'm going to storm away like a spoiled brat. I didn't get my way, so I'm going to throw a tantrum. Number one, I'm going to leave your party permanently and you never find me again. Okay? Number two, and listen to this, I've decided that because I can't get my way, all those prisoners out there, all those imprisoned turns just like me, they're all vampire spawn. Oh, they'll never be freed. And he takes the staff, that's the doors to the cells for the prison, and he snaps it on his knee. So now all those people are stuck permanently and can never be freed because he's a spoiled fucking brat. He didn't get his way, so now it's tantrum time. And it's like, wait, what? You didn't gain anything by doing that. You're just an asshole, right? So then he storms away. And I'm like, listen, all right, let me get this. If he's out of my party for good, okay? It's sad because he's been my go-to rogue. He's been my lockpicker. He's been my stealth guy. He's been a part of the plot for 120 hours. Yeah, it hurts to lose someone who's a key party member. Like I said, I literally never took Astarion out of my party. He was there from the get-go, and he's the only character that I always had in my party, right? So it sucks to lose him. But I said, I'm going to live with the consequences of my decisions. I chose the moral path. That's the path that he didn't like. If he doesn't like me and he doesn't want to be with me anymore, that's fine. Leave, okay? So I receive a sack of items in my inventory. It's over 100 items. I said, oh, this is his inventory. This is what he had sitting in his inventory, and they give it to you so that way you don't lose all the inventory items when he leaves the party. Fine. So we go back to camp. So what are we going to do? Well, for now, Astarion's gone. Let's just get someone else quick in the party. Let's do another mission. So I did. I put another character in the party. We went and got another mission. We actually recruited another character, which is wild. I recruited a new character 120 hours into the game. I'm thinking that's probably the last one. So someone says, you know, in this game, the cool thing about it is once you hit level 12, which is the max level, which I hit a while ago, you can respec characters to however you want. And so you could essentially make a second Astarion out of this new character, Minsk, who we recruited. And I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. Let's do it then. So we did. We literally went in and built Minsk into the same Gloomstalker build that Astarion had. And I was like, well, this is excellent. Let's just have him be the new Minsk. And we'll have a new character to boot, and we'll get to learn new lore and everything. This will be neat. So we do all that, and I'm like, well, here's the thing. Half the stuff that Astarion was doing was because of his gear. He had a piece of gear that gave him a first attack every time, every fight. That was a critical hit, giant damage first attack, which is awesome. He had a piece of gear that was the best hand crossbow in the game, doing both force damage and regular damage, and it has special properties. He had a new sword I had just gotten out of the plot. It's a one-handed sword that acts like you're dual wielding. So you can attack with this sword, but get a second free attack, and it does full damage as if you're holding only one sword. It's super duper good. So he's got all of these things. He had the ability to cast a magic missile spell for free, and that's huge because there's situations where you need a guaranteed hit, and he can get it. So I got all this good equipment on him. It's really good equipment. And again, this is rare equipment that once you have it, but you can never, ever reproduce it or get it back if you lose it. It's a one-time deal. It's completely unique equipment, okay? So I'm building Minsk up, and I opened the pack that Astarion had given me of all his items, and I'm trying to transfer the armor over, and I'm like, wait a minute. Now, I know for a fact he had a piece of equipment that gives him the critical hit. I can't find it. Wait a minute. Where are the hand crossbows that I've had him use the whole game? I'm looking. None of it's there. Huh? So the game programmers at Larian had the foresight to say, well, if we have a character leave, they got to give you the items from their inventory because they might have a quest item in there, right? And if there's a quest item in their inventory and they leave, you can't complete the quest. You could soft lock the game. And they didn't want that to happen. But they didn't think enough forward to say, oh, yeah, by the way, if a person leaves your party, they have equipment on them, and they should also give you their equipment, right? How would I have known that a character leaving my party means that he leaves with unique critical items that I built over the course of the game specifically for his build, and now because those items are gone, I can never use that build ever again. And it's true. With this particular build that I made, I can never have that kind of combination of attacks or gameplay ever again. It's lost. All right? Now, here's the thing. Because some people have been defending this. All right? And here's the thing again. I'm all for having your choices in any game have consequences. There's too many games today where it's the illusion of choice. You make a choice and it didn't really affect anything. This was going to happen no matter what. And it's bullshit. And I don't like games like that. I like games where your choices directly impact the results and the plot and all of that. I really enjoy that. I'm okay with actually having a character who's written to basically kind of be like a spoiled brat, like Astarion is, and that's okay. I'm not arguing with the character. The character's fine. But if I make a moral choice and he's going to leave, all right, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the game now having a new game mechanic, never explained ever throughout the entirety of the game, and a game mechanic that they had enough foresight to say, we don't want to soft lock you, so we're going to give you all of his inventory, but then he's going to run away with all the items that he has equipped. It doesn't make sense, okay? It just doesn't. You might say, well, what's he going to do? Strip naked when he leaves your party? Yeah, because here's what should happen. If he says, well, I'm leaving, immediately you should say, hold up. We just went through a 120-hour journey together, and if you're leaving, that's on you, and I give you the option to leave if you want to leave the party. But if you're leaving, you give me all your shit right now. And then there should actually be dialogue between you and the character, hashing it out. Maybe there's a persuasion check. Maybe there's an intimidation check. And then the option should be either you just let him go scot-free, or you have to convince him to give you your items back, or you fight him. And if you win, you keep the items, right? That's what should have happened. Not, oh, he decides to leave. He disappears from the fucking game. Literally, he just goes, bloop, he's gone. They wipe him from game's existence, and now you have no option whatsoever to get your shit back. That's bad game design. And you might say, well, your actions should have consequences. Yes, if you're going to lose the character, that's the consequence. And give me the extra step of role-playing to have that dialogue so we can now determine what happens, because you're choosing to break our camaraderie, our fellowship. You're the one doing it, not me. I'm not sending you off. You decided to leave. So now we have to hash this out, right? Seriously, that's bullshit. You don't just get to steal everything, right? If you are in a relationship and you break up, does one person in the night steal everything in the fucking house and run out the door? No, you have to hash out who keeps what, right? It's bullshit. It shouldn't be like this at all. It's absolutely terrible writing. And Zero says it was his stuff. Wrong. It was the party stuff. It was the party stuff, because everything earned that he had equipped on him is the party's property because they earned it together through their fellowship and camaraderie, not him doing it alone. If there was shit on him that he had earned completely by himself, you have the right to leave with it. None of that shit was his. It was everyone's to divvy out as appropriate during their working together. Once you're leaving, now you got to determine what you get to leave with. It's that simple. There should have been that extra level of RPG, you know, gameplay, and they didn't. Instead, they copped it out. He literally disappears from the game. Huh? How is that role playing? Oh, I blipped you out of existence. Bloop. What the fuck are you talking about? Right? That's terrible gameplay. It is. It's bad writing. It's bad programming. It's bad gameplay. I'm sorry, you're never going to convince me different. They could have done that a million ways better to make it feel more like a real RPG, where you're playing the role of your character. I made the moral choice. Now we got to hash it out if you're going to leave. You don't just disappear from fucking existence and get away scot-free with all my shit. So, anyway, all that being said, I'm pretty upset. I do feel like this is a huge design flaw by Larian. I think Larian could have done way, way better with this. And now, continuing on with the playthrough, now I have to decide what am I going to do next, because I basically can't have that build in my party ever again. I respect Minsk to kind of be it, but no matter what equipment I put on him, he's never going to be as good as Astarion was. Astarion got off scot-free with the best equipment. Now, some people are like, well, why don't you reload? Because I don't want to. The whole point is that I'm living with my decisions. He should leave. That's fine. If he leaves and he's out of the plot or whatever, you know, and I think he's a baby too. And here's the other thing too, because people are like, well, you should live with the consequences of your decisions. Well, actually, it's not fair because you're not allowed to. Because my decision was, I don't want him to become the vampire lord, so I don't sacrifice thousands of vampire spawn. Then he breaks the staff on his knee anyway. So now the vampire spawn are already screwed. You've basically negated my decision. Basically, the decision was either go with Astarion and do what he wants, or else get a bad ending. Well, that's not a decision at all. That's a trick. It really is. That's a trick. That's bad writing. And there's no way to know you're going to get the bad end by making the moral choice, especially, you know, you've been going the whole playthrough like this. That's bullshit. And so I think what it is, a lot of people would have said, hey, we're just going to, you know, we're going to reload. I'm not going to reload. You know, it sucks that that's where they went with that writing. Now, the funny part about it is some people have been telling me, well, you understand that if you had high affinity with Astarion, it wouldn't have gone down like that. If you had high affinity, then you can convince him otherwise, right? Well, guess what? I can't have high affinity because I'm doing a moral choices roleplay. The whole playthrough, I've been trying to make the best moral choices, right? There's been a few here or there that are very tenuous, I would say. But for the most part, I'm going with the moral choices, so I'm going to live with that. So apparently, you just can never have a good outcome with Astarion if you're a moral person in this game. That's essentially what they're saying. You would have had to made bad choices that he likes. You would have had to, for example, earlier in the playthrough, you would have had to murder someone for a demon for him to be pleased with you, to learn what the runes were cut into his back, even though during the Cazador plotline, you find out anyway. So it didn't even matter that he didn't find out early. All that's a moot point, but he hates you for it anyway. Bullshit. It's bad writing. And I don't like that at all, and they could have done a much, much better job with it, and I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I don't like this part of the game. The whole Cazador plotline is broken because of it, and the game mechanic of someone leaving your party and stealing items because they literally blip out of fucking existence when they leave your party is a terrible, terrible way to code the game. They could have done a scene where you hash it out and you have these choices. In fact, wouldn't that have been better? Okay, you're deciding that we have a difference of opinion. You need to leave the party. All right, so now you're going to have a dialogue, either a persuasion check, an intimidation check, a deception check, something like that to get your inventory back. Or you mutually agree because you still like the character enough that they could just leave with the inventory, or you fight them. And maybe that could be awesome because maybe now they get to use all the shit they learned. Imagine if immediately you have to fight Astarion. He goes, okay, turn one, invisible. Oh, fuck, where is he? And he backstabs one of your characters, and he's so powerful because he's your party member, he insta-kills one of your characters. Right? Like, oh shit. Like, that would be dope. I think that would be amazing if you have to actually fight it out with them at the end for them to get their way. But they didn't put that in the game. I guess that was too tough. Or they just didn't have the design choices. They didn't think of it. I think that would have been amazing. Then you want to talk about a game that resonates as like a truly unique experience. That would have been something I've never experienced in a game before. And I would have been like, wow, that would have been ultra awesome to have in the game. But instead, they literally took the easy way out and they blip the character out of the game. Bloop, done. Code, line of code, remove. Bloop, done. What the fuck is that? Anyway, so I'm upset, obviously. I just spent over 20 minutes on this podcast talking about the situation and how upset I am, right? There you go. Shadow Dancer says, roll a 1, no bonuses. I like the fight idea, but bump his stats, make it a boss fight. Yes, I would love that. Make them a boss. Now you have a cool, epic boss fight to get rid of this character from the story. If you kill them, well, that's why they're gone. But if they win, you know, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I think people would have loved that. No, I would have absolutely loved that. It would have blew me away if that's what happens. I would have never expected that. And I would have been pleasantly surprised. But instead, it's seriously the easy way out. Disappear. So lame. Make my own game. Weary Mark, I bought this game. I have the right to criticize it. I've played it over 120 hours. I can tell you where there's room for improvement instead of just sucking the balls of Larian Studios devs, okay? I don't suck balls. I tell you how it is. This is a awful part of the game that should be improved in future installments when they make them. They should make it better, not fuck you over. And the other part about it is, people are saying things like, well, if you had known that you were going to lose the inventory, right? Then basically what would have happened is you would have always done the decision to appease the person so they stay with you. You're right. And I think now, what you're seeing now, okay, is essentially the problem with this game. Now that you know that if a character leaves you, you lose their inventory, what's going to happen is for a lot of people, they're just going to make the whole game about appeasing the party members. Because they want to keep them in the party, so you have that option of bringing that person in for whatever reason, for the plot, for a fight, for lockpick, whatever. You always want everyone happy with you, right? So instead of it being an RPG where you can simulate who you really want to be and make the choices you want, instead it becomes, I am a pleaser, a yes man, a person who just appeases my party members so they'll never leave and I won't lose all of this work that I put into the game. That's terrible. That is absolutely awful. That's bad writing. That's bad gameplay. That's bad everything. No one should have to play the game walking on fucking eggshells, wondering if they're going to piss one of their party members off and then they leave and then you're fucked because the game mechanic is they disappear from the universe, right? So that's terrible. And it should be improved. Absolutely, positively, it should be improved. It's not, all right? I think that's something that, again, whether they patch it in or whether that's something that in a future installment they put into the game, that should be dramatically changed and overhauled. That's one of my major gripes with the game right now. I have a few gripes with it. As you know, I played 120 hours and I had some criticisms of it. This is probably my strongest one right now. That you could screw me out of unique gear I worked my ass off to get and to create this build over the course of the playthrough, and now you screw me, right? That is so unacceptable in my opinion. So anyway, that's my take, and you can disagree. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there who disagree. If you disagree, I want to hear your take, and I want to hear why you disagree in a valid way. Not just, oh, you're wrong and Larian's right, right? That's ball sucking, okay? No ball sucking, right? I don't want to hear ball sucking around here. Ass kissing, knob stroking, none of that. I actually want to hear legit arguments for why you think the way they've handled it is better than my proposed way to handle it. Okay? So, and by the way, here's another thing that people have said. Well, other RPGs do it. What RPG? Name one RPG where a character leaves your party and there's no option to ever get them back and get your gear back. Because I'm not aware of it. And by the way, I've played a ridiculous amount of RPGs in my time. I'm literally playing an RPG right now called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. There's two parties. When you switch from the plot from one party to the other, you still have access to the inventory of the other party that you can't play with. Okay? I've played many Final Fantasy games where a character will leave with inventory, but later on it comes back. Or they put the inventory into your party inventory. They don't just remove it magically. It doesn't disappear. The character doesn't blip out of existence. They've already solved this problem many, many times before in other RPGs. This RPG chooses to ignore all of those solutions and say, we're doing it our own way, a very annoying, badly designed, archaic way that punishes the player and makes it that now you're afraid of always pissing off a party member because they might steal all your shit. That's stupid. Sorry. It just is stupid. Okay? And it's funny because now some people are saying, well, what about Final Fantasy Tactics? Oh, Final Fantasy Tactics, a PlayStation 1 game. Excuse me. from the 1990s. That's your best counter to what I'm saying in 2024, over 25 years later. Nothing's advanced since then. Nothing's gotten better. Right? How about this? If you want to play Final Fantasy Tactics, go play Final Fantasy Tactics. This is an RPG in the modern day that's supposed to have modernized mechanics that are appeasing and appealing to the player. All right? I'm playing this game because I want to simulate a certain style of moral compass in my main character, and I should be able to live with the choices without getting dirty surprises like this, being completely screwed. How does it make any sense that Astarion had the foresight to say, well, we don't want to soft lock you, so we're going to give you a bag full of all the items that Astarion had in his inventory, but not anything he actually has equipped on his person? That's bullshit. Either it's all or nothing, not being selective about the shit. That's really stupid, you know? So, sorry, don't like it, not going to like it. You're not going to change my mind, whether trying to yell at me and saying that I'm wrong, or, you know, oh, other RPGs do it this way. It's bad. It's just bad game design, in my opinion. You have the right to disagree, but you're not going to convince me otherwise. Right now, I'm very upset that I got this far into the game, and I can't get my shit back, right? So I'm not going to reload the game. I'm not going to redo my choice just for the sake of appeasing this spoiled brat character. I'm going to continue on with the playthrough. It just sucks. I'm not going to have anyone who basically has that build anymore, and there's really nothing that I can do about it, right? I just have to kind of live with it, and deal with it. And that's okay, but it will leave kind of a gap in my playthrough where I always, you know, the rogue character was great. I loved having them the entire game, and now I can't lockpick. I could respec someone to lockpick, like Minsk. Maybe we could do that. But Minsk will now not hold a candle to what Astarion was able to do in combat. He doesn't have any of the gear. Like I said, I think what we might do today is, first thing we do is go on a shopping trip, because some people have recommended going to this particular vendor or two and buying a couple, like a new bow or something like that. I have no rings for Minsk at all that are any good for a rogue. They were on Astarion. He left with them. I think my boots, everything's bad. Like, all the shit I have is pretty bad. So I think I will probably first thing today go on that shopping trip and try to outfit Minsk, and then we're going to decide what we do next. Now, what I might do is I might just go rescue Lae'zel, and if we rescue Lae'zel, maybe she'll become my fourth party member. Then for combat, my party's going to be ridiculous, because Lae'zel was also, like, crazy good in combat, and she hasn't been in my game now for many hours, so maybe rescuing her is the way to go, and then I have the most crazy party ever for fighting. And then I guess we just forego the entire rogue idea. We just don't have one in our party anymore, right? I guess we'll see. But that's my take on this. I don't like this at all, this game mechanic. I think my proposition of how it should go is much better. And I'd like to hear your opinions on this, okay? All right, I'm officially done with this segment on Baldur's Gate 3, all right? Now,
I got the drip going. 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 It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean, these dumb kids. This is what it is. It's dumb kids.